Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to the organizers for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be here. And let me take the opportunity to also thank the Ambassador of Sweden for doing such a great job strengthening bilateral relations between our two countries. At a time when there are so many things happening and there are many opportunities. So I'm sure you heard that before in a previous panel, and I just will be very brief. I don't want to take too much time from the real experts in the panel, but these are highly uncertain, unpredictable times. We live in a very fluid international security environment, which keeps changing as we talk. Europe has learned the hard way that we cannot rely only on soft power. It is not enough. We need to complement that with hard power and then to make intelligent decisions on how to use our collective power. And we haven't been doing a great job until recently. But again, times are changing. There have been a few warnings over the last 10, 15 years. First, conflict in Ukraine. First, Trump administration. War in Ukraine. Second, Trump administration. And the Americans have been reminding us that we cannot rely exclusively on a U.S. security umbrella and that we need to do more. Now, at the same time, we witness a reshaping of alliances, shifting of power balances. The global south is becoming more important, and this is something we sometimes in Europe tend to forget, perhaps spending too much time in the so-called Brussels bubble. Rules of the game are changing. The old playbook doesn't apply anymore, and the new one has not yet been written, or at least the powers that be did not share that with us. Talking about European defense, most European countries had the opportunity to enjoy the so-called peace dividend after the end of the Cold War. Greece, unfortunately, was not one of them for reasons that at least the Greek participants are fully aware. Now we seem to be in the same boat, all of us. And there are a number of things we need to do: increase our autonomy as Europeans. We need to spend more on defense. Well, I guess the rest of you people, because Greece has been almost consistently over the 3% ceiling. Now, all of us will have to go eventually to 5%. It remains to be seen how that will be achieved. It's not an easy target, but if one includes security and resilience, maybe we can get closer to that. But we certainly have to spend more, spend together. One has to try to address problems like the fragmentation of our defense industry and also our defense spending. Not easy, because at the end of the day, we are a union in many things, but we still have 27 separate defense budgets. So spending cannot be fully rational and efficient, but we can certainly do better. And we have to buy together to achieve economies of scale. And of course, we need to invest in our defense industry so that we can be more competitive. And speaking about fragmentation, of course, my favorite example is the Greek frigate program. There were 8 countries participating. 7 of them were European countries. And if you look at the numbers, there is X number of main battle tanks produced by European countries, Z number of fighter aircraft, and so on and so forth. You look at the Americans, they have 1 or 2. So this will have to change, and I think we are moving in the right direction, but are we doing that fast enough? Now, we have now a number of European policy and funding instruments. So the toolbox now is bigger. The question is, can we use it efficiently enough? Because the idea is not for national defense industries to get a bigger slice of the pie, is for really European programs. So this will be a challenge, not an easy one, but we have to do much better than we used in the past. Now, talking about Greece and Sweden, we probably are natural partners because of the size of our defense industries. Of course, Sweden's is bigger, but it's not as gigantic in comparison as France, Germany, or Italy. So scale would work in our favor. Also mentality. My understanding is that Swedish companies are investing more in the concept of cooperation and working with partners. So I think there are opportunities. We also have, looking at our defense and security debates, we may be in the two extremes of Europe, but concerns in many cases are similar. Sweden may not be as archipelagic as Greece, but it cares a lot about coastal defense and maritime security. And of course, protecting it, because it's not only defense, it's also security and resilience. So, for example, protecting underwater maritime infrastructure is very important for all of us. So far, it has been more of a problem in the North Sea, affecting the Baltic countries, the UK, and the Scandinavian countries. But one has to remember, look at the map of the Aegean, and the Mediterranean is full of cables and pipelines, and more will be built over the next few years. So the need is there. And we need to share our experiences, lessons learned, and also technological solutions. So, we may have different threat assessments in some cases, but some of the problems are common. So we need to look for common solutions. And of course, Sweden's approach on societal security can be very interesting for Greece. Of course, you can never copy-paste such a concept. Circumstances are always slightly different, but there are many useful lessons that can be learned. So one looks at the current situation, both at the European level, but also our national levels. Greece trying to build its defense and security ecosystem. Sweden being significantly more advanced, but looking for cooperation for opportunities. And of course, there are some projects already on the table between our two countries. So it looks like there are significant opportunities ahead of us, which we need to explore. And this is, well, not the beginning. Such meetings are not the beginning of such a relationship, which could hopefully evolve into partnership. But we need as many of those as we can. And of course, our two ecosystems need to explore all the opportunities. The Greek government is looking very favorably to such efforts. We'll support as much as we can. But I would say there's the public sector and the governments talking to each other in the case of Greece and Sweden. But I would think that it's mostly the private sector that should take the lead. And again, I would say Greece is prepared to support that. So thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to listening to a very interesting panel right now. Thank you.